And welcome to, here we go, we're starting now. Welcome to COMP125. It's client-side web development here at Centennial College. My name is Tom. I'll be your professor. Please don't call me Mr. Tsiopoulos. That's not cool, and you probably can't remember it anyway. So I'll be with you guys for these 14 weeks. I will not be switching. I won't be switch hitting with somebody else. You've got me for the full 14 weeks, which is maybe good, maybe bad. I don't know, for some of you. So what we're going to be doing is JavaScript in this course, right? And there is a book. We're going to start with the outline as we start talking about this stuff. So the outline is the one that, I mean, you guys should have access to now. I've put it up on eCentennial. Everything that I have, like I said earlier, for people that were here, is going to be on eCentennial. I communicate with you guys through eCentennial and through email. Okay, we don't have any paper exchange. I don't write things on paper. Neither will you. I'm not going to write things on paper. There's no test to do. None of that stuff is going to happen with paper. That doesn't make any sense for me. So as you can see, Joanne Filati, she's the course director, if you will, for this one. So I'm going to be following her outline, more or less. When I say more or less, there are going to be a few changes, right, as we go forward. It may not be the exact amount of, when it comes to the amount of assignments and so on. I'll try and stick to what she says for the most part, but expect that there's going to be between 4 and 6 assignments in this course. Right? There will not be a final project. We won't have a big project to do, but there will be a starter project that I will give you probably next week. And it'll be making a mini portfolio site, right, with JavaScript. We'll talk about that. And HTML5 and CSS and all that. The book for this one, I'm bringing up the book. It is JavaScript, the Web Warrior series, 2015. It's an okay book for JavaScript. I'm going to put it out there like this. Okay. I'm not going to say it's a good book or bad book. Books are good for computer science in terms of us moving forward and having a reference, but they're bad because, you know what? In the next 3 months, everything changes, right? Every 3 months, something's different in computers, especially on the web. The web is the most volatile development platform on the planet. All right, you can't more volatile than the web. Everything changes constantly, right? Even for me, I've been doing this for web development 15 years. I've been in computer science for, I'm not going to say how many years, but let's say more than 25 years, right? So doing computer programming, hardware, software, networking. I worked at Bell for 10 years. I also work at another college and here. So I've been, this is my full-time gig. I don't do anything else other than this. I have some another job on the side that I keep going for web development. That's what I do. For some of my older clients that I don't want to kick out, right? Because they keep on saying, please, Tom, can you help support us? And I'm like, I don't do that anymore, right? But they're like, yes, please do it. Okay. If you really want to. But that's what I really do is web development and game programming. Those are the 2 things I do. So if you want to learn game stuff, I'm your guy. If you want to learn web development, that's me. It's what I love to do. JavaScript is pretty much my favorite language now. JavaScript using TypeScript, actually, if you're going to go back. We're not going to touch TypeScript probably until right to the end because there's too much to learn now. But this is the first book. So if you're going to wonder about whether you should get the book or not, I think it's a good reference. If you've never done JavaScript before, it's something to have that gives you some kind of direction on how to look things up. But there's a lot of online resources as well. They've given a scheme here in terms of what's on the assignments. This is an example of what she's put up in terms of what we're going to be doing. Yes and no. Some of this is accurate. So assignment number 1, like I said, will be building a mini portfolio site. And if you don't know what that is, I'll explain everything to you. There's nothing to worry about. And as I go, I'll give you the idea of what's due over the next couple weeks. Usually I give you a week or 2 to do your assignments. Okay, it's not like it's due today or anything like that. So in terms of what I'm not going to stray from too much is the schedule of what we're going to be learning, right? So this is going to be pretty much standard stuff. So I'm not going to vary here. Assignments, yes, you'll see some variation because they're my assignments, right? But in terms of what we're learning chapter by chapter, that stuff will stay on track. And it gives us a pretty good, it's a pretty good pace of what to learn. There's a lot to learn in this course. And I'm also going to be talking about ancillary technologies. And what I mean by that is stuff that helps us learn or use JavaScript and be professional web developers a little better, right? And one of those, we'll talk about a couple of those today, and I'll keep on adding new things as we go, with maybe little labs. Hey, do this lab, and then use this new piece of technology. One of those kind of things. As you notice, I am broadcasting live on YouTube, right? So that means that some of you may say, well, maybe I don't have to come into class, right? If you're broadcasting live, why do I have to come in, right? It's not a replacement for my classes. It's another reference, another piece of resource, if you will. So you can always go back. If I went too fast, sometimes professors, they go too fast, right? They don't care about students. Just type away, and I think you're about as fast as I am, and then it's done. I moved on, and you didn't get it, right? So you can always go back to the YouTube video, right? Welcome. Go ahead. You can always go back to the YouTube video to check out what I talked about. I'm always going to talk about all my assignments, this stuff, organizational things, as well as give you demos about how to do stuff on the YouTube videos. Now, Professor Falati, if you did her class before, she had this nice website that she used, and you go on there and you get all the detail from a class. I don't do that, right? Not because I don't think it's a good thing, whatever, but I'd rather you guys show me your work as we go. I'm going to give you some examples. All my stuff is going to be on GitHub. All my code examples and everything else that I do, I'm going to share it with you on GitHub. You'll have everything as we go, right? So that's why one of the activities that I put up on eCentennial, if you notice, there's one lab already on eCentennial called Lab 1 Setup, worth 2% of your final mark. It's due not today, but tomorrow at midnight. I want you guys to do that lab. It talks about things like setting up your GitHub account, getting a free Microsoft account, all those kind of things, because we're going to make everything live on Microsoft Azure. All right, so that means you're going to learn how to publish stuff to Azure like day one in here, right? And we're going to keep going like that. Now, it's not, sometimes it's a little tricky, right? So I'm not going to tell you it's always easy to do stuff with Azure, because Microsoft has a few rules about how to do stuff. But if you follow my examples and everything else, you should be fine to set up with Azure, and it'll help you with other courses as we go forward, right? If you ever do any other course with me, I do web game programming, COMP125, as an option later on. I also do COMP125, which is advanced graphics here, which is 3D programming with JavaScript. In order for you to do those kind of courses, you need to do this course. And there's another really cool course, again, along that line in later years, which is COMP308, Emerging Technologies. All of them require you to have very good understanding of JavaScript. That's why this course is so important for you, right? This kind of intro to JavaScript. Okay, so that's really in a nutshell. If you follow this outline, and again, it's up on eCentennial, it'll tell you approximately which chapter we're covering in the book, right? This stuff here, tests and assignments, please don't look here for when it's going to happen. I'm going to vary some of the time frames and the assignments and rebalance some of the marks, all right? But more or less, I'm going to have 4, 5, or 6 assignments. I'll let you know as we go, right? And it really depends on you guys, right? And the other class that I'm going to have. There's 2 sections of this class. This is one section. We meet on Mondays and also, when else? Wednesdays? Or Tuesdays. Tuesdays, right? At 4:30, is it 4:30? Right? Just make sure. So I'll go into my little calendar and make sure, because this is all new, right, for everybody. So there's 2 sections. So there's that one, and this is for so section 4 for day 1, which is this is today, right? And we also have day 2, section 4, day 2, right, of COMP125 is let's see what that is. Is that Wednesday? It is. It's 4:30 to 6:30 on Wednesday, yeah? Or no, 12:30 to 2:30. 12:30 to 2:30 on Wednesday, yeah? That's the first section, right? So you guys are, for me, you're my section 1, right? Even though you're section 4, right? There's another section that I have, which is on Tuesdays and Wednesdays between 4:30 and 6:30. And what it looks like, if I'm not wrong, it's also in this room, right? So we'll just make sure that it's the same room. Yeah. So both days on Tuesdays and Wednesdays, if you can't make this class and you want to come in during that class, it's okay, because it's me, right? I'm going to teach the same stuff. Actually, you're going to hear me repeat myself again, right? And again. So if you miss something, if you want to come into class, you don't like watching the videos, I don't know, that kind of stuff, you can come in. When it comes to tests, though, tests, and exams and all that stuff, you need to stick to your class time. So if I typically will not, I don't think I'm going to make your test or exam happen on a Monday morning at 8:30. Just letting you know, it's not going to happen, right? I'm probably going to make it on the Wednesday at from 12:30 to 2:30. All your tests and exams are probably going to happen during that time frame. Because it doesn't make sense for me to get you guys here at 8:30 in the morning. I just saw a bunch of you guys walking late, right? But when it comes to my exams and tests, you need to be on time. Okay, so when I start, I start. And usually they last like an hour and a half, you know, whatever it's going to be, right? So please don't be late for those. They can be quite challenging, and you need all the time you can get. Okay, so that's really my plan in a nutshell. I'm just going to follow this outline for the most part. Near the end, where we get to, you know, programming for touchscreens, mobile devices, and some other additional topics here, week 10, 11, and 12 is where things will slightly be modified in terms of what I'm going to be teaching, in terms of jQuery and all that. I'm also going to be talking about some API stuff around, again, week 12 and 13, those kind of things, more API learning. And then by the end, by week 14, that's when we're going to have our exam, or test 2. Right now, we're not supposed to call it exams, right? It's a bad thing now to call things exams. But test 1 and test 2, right? Here's what I'm going to do, though. Even though it says test 1 and test 2, guess what I'm going to be doing? I'm going to have lots of quizzes, right? So here's what I'm going to do. This week is lab. Next week, quiz. Week after, lab. The week after that, quiz. Just letting you know. Every week, there's going to be something. There's going to be something that you're going to get marked on every single week. And I'm not going to tell you when it's going to happen, right? So typically it happens on the Wednesday, though, right? I'm not going to do it at 8:30 in the morning on a Monday, because this doesn't make sense. But if I do it on a Wednesday, be prepared. It's going to be an in-house quiz next week, Wednesday. Intent. Did I say Wednesday? Next week, Wednesday. Quiz. It's going to be like 5 to 10 questions, and it's going to be with 2% of your final mark, right? It's going to be online, right? You're going to have to, you know, come in, and I'm going to make it a password. You have to kind of log in with a password, all that kind of stuff. Do your quiz, and away you go. If you miss a quiz, you can't take it again, right? So that's why it's important for you to be here during 12:30 to 2:30 on Wednesdays, because that class will be your quiz time, exam time, all that stuff. Okay? Questions so far? Outline, more or less, we're going to be doing what this says. We're going to be following the book. If you notice, chapter 1, week 1, chapter 2, week 2. Chapter by chapter, we follow the book. But I'm going to add a bunch of more things, right? So please don't be alarmed if you see something that I'm showing you to do and you're like, hey, that's not in the book, right? Because I'm a web developer, right? I'm not going to just show you stuff that's in the book. I'm going to show you stuff. Otherwise, why do you need me? Just go and read the book. Don't come into class. Just do your exam and see later, right? So yeah, I'll be showing you new things. There'll be things that you won't be, that won't be exactly in the book, or some other things that I'll ask you to do earlier. You might see it in the book, like, you know, week 4, 5, 6, but I'll be talking about it today, you know, that kind of thing. Not because I want to kill you guys with information, but only because it's important for you guys to start right, okay? So that's really it in a nutshell. Any questions about the outline? Okay, it's online. If you want to look at eCentennial, it's there. So please, if you have any questions about the outline, what we're going to be doing, more or less, when it comes to learnings, you can always look at the outline. When it comes to assignments and tests, like I said before, just to say this again, some of that, the time frame and the percentage marks and stuff, the balance of those things will be up to me, okay? Just letting you know. If you have questions about that, you can always meet with me. I do have office hours, you know, here at Centennial. Usually it's Mondays after this class until about 4:30 in the afternoon, and Tuesdays and Wednesdays between let's say 8:30 in the morning and 12:30. Right, those are my office hours. I'll post them later on for you, as well as Fridays. But I'm not available on Thursdays, as I will be off campus during that day. Just let you know. So if you need to meet with me, please make an appointment. I can certainly meet with you throughout the week, except for Thursdays. Okay, so that's your outline in a nutshell. Again, I am broadcasting live, so if you actually go up on YouTube, and if you were to look at this stuff here, so if I was going to look at my YouTube site here for a second, let's go to me. If I go there, notice that there's going to be this, if I look at what it looks like from you guys, one day when actually it comes up, come on, just view it yourself, it's just rotating. But if you actually look at me, there'll be this little link here that says live right now. It's broadcasting, right? So you can always look at it live if you like. Okay, so we're going to be talking about JavaScript in this course, but we're going to be using a lot of other technologies. One of the technologies we're going to be using is Bootstrap, right? Because when I look at Bootstrap, it's a CSS framework that we're going to be using. I don't expect you guys to be CSS gurus in this class. We're not going to be doing CSS again, right? Necessarily, but we need to do some CSS work, right? Because our websites have to look somewhat decent, right? So Bootstrap, definitely going to be something we use all the time. If you don't know how about Bootstrap, you've never used Bootstrap before, that's okay, because we're going to be talking about it as we go. That's one of the things we're going to be doing. Let's talk about some other things before we move on. I'm also going to be using something called Concept Board, which is almost like a virtual whiteboard that I'll be using. So if you're away or if you're watching this remotely, I'll ask you for some code examples. I'll probably ask to put it up on Concept Board. But let's talk about some other stuff. If I want to do a poll, let's just do a quick poll for you guys. And this is something that I do a lot as well. Let's make a new poll. So I'll create a poll for you guys, and I'll say, what's your favorite browser for debugging? No, how about just have your favorite browser for now? And I'll do one of these. I'll say IE Edge, right? We'll say Chrome, and we'll add in something like Safari, and maybe even Firefox. I'm not going to put in Poor Opera, because Poor Opera is dead, right? So if you're using Poor Opera, I feel sorry for you. But anyways, let's just continue with this, and I'll create the poll right now. So to answer the poll, because I want you guys to be honest, let's go up on, you can go to pollev.com/learn. I will make this available for you. And you can always do the poll automatically you can text learn to 37607 if you're a text person, right? Late. All right, so let's see. So Firefox, Chrome, right? Let's just see what the favorite browser is. And I'll talk about why my favorite browser is what they are. You're laughing, you ready? Right. Chrome, Firefox. Come on, Core IE. Don't you guys love Microsoft? Someone's gonna love Microsoft. Windows 10, yeah. IE or Edge? Internet Explorer? One of those, either one. If you like one of those Microsoft technologies. What do you mean? Internet Explorer 11 is supported very nicely. Yeah, but we don't talk about the older versions. Right? By the way, I don't care about the older versions. If you're like, Tom, should I do my my website with Internet Explorer 6, 7, 8, 9? I'm gonna say no, right? I don't care about those, right? I want you to do your websites that work in Internet Explorer 11, for sure, they should work, and they should also work with Chrome, Safari, Firefox. If they work with those things, are good. Questions so far about this stuff? Come on. I don't have a lot of people answering the poll. Some people like Firefox, though. Right? A lot of people, more people like Chrome, half the people. That's good. Hey, oh, come on. That was a tease. Who teased me there? Someone was teasing me there with IE. You change your vote. Okay, that's just not right. Okay, come on, put it up there. Don't be afraid. I'm not gonna judge you. Yes, I will. But that's IE. I don't understand, right? Although, I'll be honest with you, Edge is pretty good. It's supposed to be pretty cool anyway. But Microsoft is still improving it. Poor Safari. Safari has a good story, eh? Apple, right? It was. I'll be honest with you. For a while, they were head-to-head with Chrome, right? They were actually really good. Chrome, Safari, and Firefox. But they've kind of slipped over the last little while. I'm not sure if you guys have noticed. Anyone have a Mac in the class by any chance other than me? Yay, some Mac people. You have a Mac? You can bring it in? What the hell, right? What's going on? What's your name? Larissa. Okay, Larissa. I expect you to bring your Mac going forward. Bring your Mac. Forget about the computer in front of you. If you've got your Mac or laptop, I recommend you bring your laptop or Mac or whatever it is, MacBook or whatever, in. The computer in front of you is okay. It's going to be okay. But you know what? Bringing your laptop, you have more control. As you're a developer, you should have a machine to develop on. And I know that it doesn't require this at the school, but it's okay if you bring in your laptop. You can do your tests on your laptop. Those are good. Those are good, real positive reasons why, right? Do yourself. Most of my tests are going to be open book, except for the quiz. Quizzes are closed book because it's a quiz, right? And by the way, you can't talk to anybody else when you're doing a quiz. And when you do your exam, there's no talking, right? That's also a thing we don't do. And we don't cheat in this class, right? If I catch you being a cheater, that's just really disappointing. Okay, so we see some people use Firefox. Firefox is a really cool browser. I like it. Firefox is a really cool browser. And you know what? It has some really good tools. I'm going to shut it down now. But the great thing about this little poll, and most of you use Chrome, is because why do you use Chrome? Because it's the most popular browser out there. And there's some really cool tools out there that'll talk about this. If I was going to go up on, kind of mark. Let me see if I have it somewhere here. Frameworks or wireframes. Yes, I do. There's a site called StatCounter, gs.statcounter.com, and what it does, it counts. Let's actually use the right 2013. What the hell? Let's look at 2016. So we'll say up till May 2016, right? Over the last, let's say, 12 months, from May 2015 to April 2016. Let's say we'll update the graph. And what's the most popular browser that's out there worldwide, right? And you can see Chrome worldwide is a very popular browser. So is IE. Just got to put it out there. So you're going to be a web developer, right? And you have a company that say, so Tom, Larissa, you're going to be the new web developer. Should we make your web development compatible with IE? Should it be your web? Should it be? Yeah, because there's 15% market share worldwide. That means like 15% of people, if you don't make it compatible somehow, right, won't be able to use it. Now, Chrome is a safe bet, right? 53% of people use it, but you can't not do it for Firefox or Safari, right? And this is for the main browsers, by the way. This is all versions of Chrome. This is not just like which version it is, i.e. Firefox and Safari. Opera, you can see, is like Opera, right? And then there's other ones, right? But more or less, if you don't do it for Opera, but if you hit IE, Firefox, Safari, at some point, these main browsers are good. Chrome being number one, which means if you're compatible with Chrome, but not all features work with IE. And by the way, if it works with Chrome, it'll probably work with Firefox and Safari, probably. That's something that we want to kind of keep in mind, right? The other one that I like to look at is HTML5 Test.com. Let's try that. HTML5. Test.com. HTML5 Test.com, it rates the browser experience, right? So it kind of says, here, try it out for you. Go onto your phone or the computer in front of you. Go to HTML5 Test.com. It'll give you a different number probably than me, right? So 521 out of 555. Let me switch to Windows 10 for a second. Here's Windows 10. And if I look at Edge, here's Edge, or Edge, right? And if I go to HTML5 Test.com with Edge, right? If it actually works, in a second it will. No, I don't care about this Edge. Thanks. I don't want to get started. I want to go to HTML5 Test.com. All right, I said. There we go. If you look at Edge, 458 points, right? That's Edge. And go back to this one, 521, right? You can keep doing this. What does this mean? What do these points mean, right? It means what kind of options or elements are supported within each browser, right? So you can see that for the most part, Chrome. Well, let me look at Chrome, by the way, on Windows, right? So this is Chrome on Windows. If I go HTML5Test.com. Oh, there we go. Here's Chrome on Windows, 526, yeah, even better than the Mac, right? 521 on the Mac, 526 on Windows, right? So that's even better from a support perspective, right? And you can check out different browsers, even the one on your phone. See if my phone, I have an iPhone 6. Check on your phone what it is, right? Somewhere in there. Oh yeah, here it is. And on my phone, if I go to Chrome, right, here's Chrome on my phone. Let's try HTML5Test.com. There it is. Test. HTML5 Test.com. I'll be okay. I can actually pick away at this thing. Yeah, so my browser says 419, right? So 419 on my iPhone 6, right, for Chrome. That's less support, right? So that's another one. If you actually look at your phone, some of them will have better. What's yours? 500 and something on your Android device, right? Yeah, because Android is more compatible with Chrome than iPhone, right? Still a pretty good support. The other one to look at. So there's a couple sites. This is one. HTML5 Test.com. The other one is if you ever are confused about whether it'll work on a particular browser, some new technology, go to caniuse.com. Caniuse.com. Caniuse.com tells you if I can use something, right? Like for example, let's talk about Canvas. So HTML5 Canvas. If I look at HTML5 Canvas, basic support, you can see that across all browsers, i.e. Edge, Firefox, Chrome, pretty much. Look at from a worldwide perspective, it's 95% compatible. Canvas support, right? Even on mobile browsers like iOS, Safari, and Android browser, right? It's all supported, this Canvas element, right? But if I look at something else, I don't know, like something like, so if I look at grid, like the grid layout, here's the CSS grid layout. Is that supported? No, it's only supported at 8% across the world of all browsers. It's a new recommendation. Right, this CSS grid layout, it's nice, but it's not supported anywhere. So would you use it? Would you create websites with it? No, absolutely not. That's crazy, right? That's just you're asking for failure, right? And if you look at any of these features, it's really cool. So if you're wondering whether it'll work or not, this is where to check. Okay. So HTML5 Test.com tells you if it's which browsers are most compatible. The stats site that I showed you also tells you which ones are being mostly used, and so on. I'm going to be using Chrome, okay, for my testing. So now you don't have to use Chrome. You can use Safari or Firefox or whatever you like. And obviously there's some users that really like Firefox. It's okay. But the reason why I'm going to be using Chrome is the tools are pretty cool, and it's a pretty common browser. What do I mean by that? What do I mean by tools, right? Well, here I am in Windows. Let's go back to the Mac for a second. And not for anything else. Let me just move this over here for a second. There you go. So again, if I go to Mac, Windows, I'm going to be switching around like this all day today, right? Mac, Windows. Right? So if you're a Mac person, see a lot of this. If you're a Windows person, see a little bit of this. So the reason why I'm using Chrome is because if I go right-click anywhere, if you go to Chrome, any website, right-click, and if you go inspect, right? Then it's going to give you a bunch of this developer stuff in here, right? Try this out. So go to Chrome, right-click, go inspect. There we go. And on the bottom, now notice mine is on the bottom, and that's because of how I've laid out my panel, right? You can lay out your panel in different ways. I've laid out my panel so that it's at the bottom of my screen, right? You can see here that with these three ellipses, you can see where you want to dock it. You can dock it on the bottom. You can dock it on the right. Some people like the right. I like the bottom because it gives me a chance to look at my website. You don't have to do it that way, though. So one thing it does, it tells me if I look at elements, I can look at elements, but console is what we're going to be using a lot. So if I click on console, whoa, look at all these errors that I'm getting, right? These are all the errors that JavaScript creates if I'm trying to do something in JavaScript and it's not working, right? So even this website, HTML5Test.com, let's try Can I Use for a second. CanIuse.com, notice that there is even some errors that you're going to get on every website at the bottom, and you can look at that by right-clicking, inspect, and then looking at the console. The other way to get to it is this little hamburger up here. These little three lines here, I call it the hamburger. It's called other things too. If you click on this thing, the hamburger, you can always go to More Tools, and you can go to Developer Tools in here on Chrome. You can do that. And if you click on Developer Tools, it'll take you back into that same place where I had the console, right? That's another way to do it. Chrome. If you're a Firefox person, right, which is, by the way, Firefox has pretty awesome tools too. Let me pull up Firefox here, right? So here's Firefox. And let's say I go to the same address. So if I go to HTML5Test.com on Firefox, So we get 468, different numbers than Chrome, right, in terms of compatibility, right? But testing-wise, if I look at Firefox and I want to look at developer, under developer, click on developer there. If I want to look at the web console, I can do the same thing. It looks almost identical, right? That's one way of doing it. You can see that there's errors here. If I go to can I use, I go to caniuse.com, there it is. I might get the same error or no errors, right? Just refresh here. You can see that Firefox, I'm not getting an error down here, but Chrome, I was, right? Why? Different browsers handle JavaScript in different ways. That's number one lesson to take away from today, right? If I do something in JavaScript, it's like a programming language. I program something today on Chrome, it's great. IE may work, maybe not, right? You know, Firefox, different, right? So it's something to keep in mind when we're developing. If I right-click here and I go inspect element, right? I can also get to the console the same way for Firefox as pretty much I did with Chrome. So Chrome, Firefox, it's pretty good. They both have some really good tools. One thing I like about Firefox is the fact that you can switch between CSS or JavaScript. You can turn it off or on. You can look at warnings and errors under different topics. It's kind of organized a little differently than Chrome. But I'm going to be using Chrome because it's a very popular tool set to use. So Chrome is the one we're going to be using. Okay. Number one. Two, we have to talk about IDEs and text editors, right? Some people, there'll be some professors here that'll make you use a certain thing. Like they'll say, you need to use Expression Web, which is the worst possible IDE out there right now. It's old. It's like 2008. Please don't use Expression Web in this class, all right? I'm just telling you right now, if you use Expression Web in this class, you're not a developer. There's something else, all right? I don't use Expression Web for anything. I don't know anybody, none of my friends, no developers use Expression Web. Please don't use it in this class, all right? What I recommend that you use is Visual Studio Code, right? Brackets, we're gonna talk about a couple of them that are really cool. Here's brackets. If you're really into brackets, brackets.io is a modern editor that you can use. Atom, that's another really cool one. So if I go to the Atom editor, right, code editor, right, one of these, the Atom code editor, brackets, Visual Studio Code. These are all cross-platform compatible. They work on Windows and Mac and Linux, some of them, right? So if you're going to use Visual Studio Code, yes. Visual Studio Code is what I'm going to be using. I'm going to show you Visual Studio as well, and that's the other option, right? So Visual Studio Code, brackets, Atom, these are all really good choices, right, for Mac and Windows. And if you're a Windows person and you really don't want to use anything else, you can always use Visual Studio 2013 or 2015, okay? I'm not going to take that away. Please try not to use things like a code editor, like Notepad. Some people are diehards. They don't want. I don't want to use code hinting. Oh my God! If I use code hinting, I'm not a developer. That's crazy, right? That's just going to make your life a lot harder. And please don't use things like Dreamweaver if you can avoid it. Dreamweaver is nice, but it's really for designers, not developers. The code is okay, good support, you know. But the problem with Dreamweaver is that what you see is not what you get all the time. Okay, so please be careful with Dreamweaver if you're going to use it. If you really want to use it, I'm not going to take it away. Because at the end of the day, it's your choice what you want to use for development. I'm just going to recommend some stuff. The other one that you can use is Aptana Studio 3, which is the another one that's very popular out there. I'm going to bring it up on the Windows side here. So if I go to Aptana Studio, that's another one that people like. Not Aptana, it's Aptana Studio 3. This one. It is if you're comfortable using something like Eclipse, and you want to get a plugin for Eclipse, Aptana Studio is a very good IDE for you to use if you want to do that. So one of these is really cool. I'm not going to use Aptana Studio in my demos, that's for sure. If you want to be more professional, right, there is another tool that you can always use called WebStorm. Today is just like the dyslexic there. Hold on. JetBrains. JetBrains makes some awesome stuff. As a student, you have a year to use it free. So it's professional level grade. It's got great code hinting. WebStorm is another option for you. And by the way, they make WebStorm, they make PHP Storm. They also do Android Studio if you're an Android developer. And the people from JetBrains make IDEs and tool sets you know, for all kinds of things. So please take a look at JetBrains. If you're really interested in being professional, that's really cool. What if you don't want an editor at all? What if, I don't know, you can't make your tools work? I'm doing something and it doesn't work for you, and you can't get it to go. What's a really an option thing to do? I like cloud stuff, right? There's some really cool cloud services you can use, like Cloudnine, right? I'm going to talk about Cloudnine in this course as well. Cloudnine is a fully cloud-based development environment, right? It gives you a Linux shell to play with. It has GitHub built in, nothing to set up, and it gives you an IDE that's fully JavaScript compatible and aware, right? That's awesome, right? So Cloudnine, if you want to be completely on the web, you don't even have any tool sets at all, whatever, no setup, Cloudnine. That's for you. We're going to talk about all these tools. I mean, I've talked about some of them. Cloudnine, we're going to come back to. I'm going to get you guys to do a little lab with Cloudnine eventually, right? Because it's important for you guys to have a tool set that is open source, free, and allows you to do some stuff on the web, right? So fully cloud. So if you're a fully cloud-based person, no tool sets. You can go from, you can actually even do it on your iPad or your tablet, no problem, right? Cloudnine. CodePen's okay. CodePen's all right as well. There's lots of other ones. There's tons and tons of them, right? JS Fiddle, CodePen. Cloudnine. Cloudnine. If you're going to do online stuff, Cloudnine is a better environment, right? If I was going to suggest things. So lots of little tool sets and stuff. So where do you start? What do you choose, right? My recommendation is Visual Studio Code. And the reason for that is because, and if you're a Visual Studio person, we're going to do things twice. Once in Visual Studio Code and once in Visual Studio 2013, 2015, right? There is a download that I'd like you to get for 2013 or 2015 if you're using the your own machine though. And I recommend you grabbing something called VS Web Essentials, right? Visual Studio Web Essentials, which is a free download for Visual Studio that makes your Visual Studio web experience better, right? So now it should be included in your computer in front of you if you're, you know, if you're using the machine in front of you. But VS Web Essentials is awesome if you're going to use Visual Studio. It includes support for additional support for JavaScript. It gives you additional support for all kinds of things. TypeScript too, if you're into TypeScript. We'll talk about that later on in the course. Really cool stuff for Visual Studio. I have it already installed. One of the things it gives you is some really cool shortcuts, right? So you can build HTML5 pages very quickly, right? So Visual Studio Code or Visual Studio 2013, 2015 is what I'm going to be looking at. I can't look at all of them. There's no way I could hit every single browser, IDE, and code editor. There's just no way. We don't have enough time in this course to do it all. But there's some really good ones we're going to hit here and there. Okay, so if you look at Lab 1, my first lab with you guys, if I was to look at that, let's take a look at Lab 1. Under Dropbox, if you go to eCentennial, your first assignment, if you will, okay, if I was to look at it for a second, is the following, right? It says, download and install Visual Studio Code. Well, that's kind of optional, right? The reason why I'm saying that is, what if you have it in front of you already? You don't have to install it. Or what if you don't want to use Visual Studio Code and you want to use, you know, Visual Studio or Dreamweaver or, I don't know, something else, right? It's okay. I don't care about this. This is my recommendation to you. This one you're going to need. Download and install desktop GitHub tool. I recommend you do that. It's going to set up your machine. If you're using Visual Studio or Windows machines, the desktop GitHub tool is actually really cool, and it sets up GitHub properly for you. Okay. The other one is download and install Node.js. Now, this is not a Node.js course, but we're going to be using a framework for Node or JavaScript that sits inside your console. We're going to do a lot of console work here in class, okay? In fact, a lot of the work I'm going to be doing is console work, right? Because in the web, modern web these days, right, I do more console work and less Visual Studio, okay? Visual Studio is like, you know, the older brother or maybe the older cousin, right, of Visual Studio Code. They're not the same in any way. Visual Studio Code is a code editor. Visual Studio is an IDE, integrated development environment, where you can do C#, C++, other languages, and so on. They're totally different. We're going to talk about that in a second. Set up a GitHub account. You might as well start doing that now. This part here. This is one of the outputs. If you notice down here, it says, here's submission details. I need two things for this lab to happen. One of them is a link to your GitHub repository. And the other one is a link to your Hello World example project on Azure, right? So we have to talk about how to do those things today and maybe next day. So those are the things I need you to do. So set up your Git account now, GitHub. Where do you go for that? You go to GitHub, GitHub.com. Right? I'm already logged in there, so it won't look like this for you, right? I'm going to bring up incognito mode. Hold on for a second. Or your privacy window, whatever you like to put up. Let me look at GitHub. And if you look at GitHub, it'll look like this when you go to it, right? I want you to go here and sign up, right? This is your 2%, one half of your 2% right now, right? So sign up for GitHub. Who does not know what GitHub is? How about who does not know what Git is? How about version control? Anyone know what version control is? All right. If you don't know what GitHub or Git is and whatever, this is one of the ancillary technologies we're talking about here that I'm going to test you on next week, on Wednesday, right? Just letting you know, right? What is GitHub? So you're going to set up on GitHub, set up your account. After you set up your account on GitHub, you can create something called a repo or a repository. Okay. So let's do kind of an example of what these things are. One of my favorite image editing tools still is Fireworks, right? It's a lightweight version of Photoshop. It's still available for you if you wanted to download the school version of, or the student version of Photoshop or Fireworks CC. It's still Fireworks CS6, right? Here's Fireworks. I'm going to use this as my little virtual blackboard or whiteboard for you guys. If you ever want to look back here, so you can see what I've been talking about in my broadcast, right? Because remember, I'm broadcasting this class. So if you miss something, don't worry. It's being recorded right now on YouTube. Let's take a look. So I'm going to make a new little file here. Let's go 640 by 480. Give me some room to play. And here's my my space. So imagine what a repository is. Here, let me talk about this. I have a local space that I work, right? Let me see if I can make a local container. Here's my container. This is on my computer, and I do all my work here, right? Let's just suppose a box, right? And what happens if you make a mistake and your computer shuts down, and then here's all your work. Let's put this in there. There's your work here. Oh man, I can't even see what that says. Your work here, right? And your work's all happening here. Everything's great. You're chugging along. You're programming. And then what happens is, something gets spilled on your computer, and then your work is gone, right? That would be bad in business. Imagine that. You're working, and all of a sudden you spill your coffee on your computer. It's gone, right? First of all, your boss would kill you because you killed the computer, right? Or the keyboard anyway. But let's suppose that you don't want that to happen. You want to always have copies of your work somewhere, right? So some people, what they do is they have a USB. What if you lose your USB? Hey, what if your USB has top secret stuff on it, right? You don't want to lose your USB. That's crazy, right? So that's really not great from a backup perspective. So what we have is something called a repo. There's two types of repos that we use. A local repository, which is actually a hidden folder inside your work, right? So here's my work, right? This is, say, my work folder. God. When I do this stuff here. Here's my work folder, and this is where all my stuff happens. So I have my work, right? This is my work subfolder, let's say over here. And there's a hidden repository inside your subfolder, right, called .git, okay, .git. .git is where your work gets, versioned, if you will. Every time you make a change to your work folder, your working folder, you push it to your local repository, your Git, and what happens is you have a backup. Hey, how many times have you worked on a project? Anybody here? You worked on a project, you're working along, and all of a sudden, oh man, I broke something. And you don't know what the hell you broke. You can't figure it out. Anyone do that? If you're a developer and you haven't experienced that, something's wrong. It means you haven't developed enough, right? I worked, it doesn't matter how many times I work, I'll make a mistake. Look, I just typed a bunch of stuff, and I still made mistakes that I was typing, right? We do it all the time, and we go back, and we're like, what did we do? How come we broke it? I can't do anything about it. Well, Git allows you to go back in time and get back your work, right? That's one thing it allows you to do. This is all local, by the way. This is your local repository. This is on your machine, right? So let's just type this in. This is your local machine, right? So this is great. You know, in case something happens, you can always go back or whatever. But again, what happens if, you know, the machine dies? Like I said, that's still bad, right? What we want to do is we want to have a way of saving everything on the cloud. Now, some people use Dropbox, some people use Google Drive, some people use OneDrive, whatever. That's okay for a backup, but we want also version control on the cloud, right? So here's our on the cloud, and this is my local machine, but up on the cloud we have something called GitHub. So here's GitHub, right? Hey, my GitHub on the cloud. So on the cloud where we have GitHub, I want to get my work on there, right? So what I want to do is get this, and somehow I want to move this over here, right? So that my work is on the cloud, right? And there's a connection that I can make. I can kind of create a connection from my local repo here, my local machine, to my remote repo. And this is what they're called. Let me just give you these terms. By the way, hint, hint, I'll be testing you on these terms next class. Not next class, but next week, Wednesdays, right? So this is your remote, right? So it's called remote repository. And this one, right, would be your local repository over here, near your local machine, local repository, right? Local repo. So your local repo, this is just, you know, terminology here. And you're like, hey, what does this have to do with JavaScript? Tom, this is a JavaScript class. Why are you telling us stuff about GitHub? Can't do web development without some kind of version control. You're doing web development, actually any development, game development, Android development, whatever, without version control, you're in the dark ages today, all right? You're not doing it right. So whoever told you it's okay not to do version control, you guys should learn version control from day one, whenever you start coding. And whenever I do COMP100, COMP123, GitHub is like the first thing we do, right? Let's go back. So here's my local repo, here's my local machine. I want to push my work to my remote repo, and I got to create a connection to do this. We're going to do all this today, right? When we create a GitHub account, you're going to notice if you've already, who's created your GitHub account. You should be able to do that right now. Do it while I'm talking. Don't watch me do it, right? If you've created your GitHub account, you're going to notice that it's all open and public repos, okay? But you can sign up for a really cool student pack, right? Let's go to the student pack I'm talking about there. If I go to DreamSpark, everybody here has access to this, by the way, dreamspark.com/student. Here it is, /student/software catalog. So if I go to DreamSpark, let's just do it from the beginning. Dreamspark.com, right? Looks like this, students, right? And then if I go to software catalog down here, right? Software catalog. Notice that everybody has access to all this wonderful stuff, right? Like Visual Studio Code and Visual Studio 2015. You can download it for your laptop. There's also a couple things you can sign up for, and one of them I want you to do today, which is Microsoft Azure for DreamSpark. This is what I want you to sign up for today, right? Everyone gets this for free as students, and you also get something called the GitHub for Education. Take a look at GitHub for Education here. This is really cool too. If I click on this one, GitHub for Education, it says get your pack. And under GitHub for Education, you get the following stuff. Atom. Remember I talked about one of the editors being Atom? It's a really cool editor, man. And Atom is a really cool thing to start off with. It's a code editor that you can use. Here's something. $50 in platform credits for new users on DigitalOcean if you want to host your stuff on DigitalOcean for free. That's pretty cool, man. Here's another one. GitHub, right, with 5 private repositories. 5 private repositories with GitHub, right? So if you don't want to share all your golden cookies, right? You don't want to share everything with everybody else. GitHub, right? You get this. You can sign up as a student, and normally it's $7 a month, but for you, free, right? Take advantage of this stuff, guys and girls. Microsoft Azure, right? As well as you get 1 free domain from Namecheap, right? Let's say Siliopoulos.com, right? Because you can pronounce that, right? And it's available free. It's normally $18.99 a year, right? So whatever the .me registration there. And 1 year SSL certificate for free from Namecheap, again. So really, really cool stuff you can get here. An account at SendGrid where you want to send email directly from your provider. That's really cool too. And a bunch of other stuff. Udacity, and even the Unreal Engine if you want to make games, right? So a really cool student pack, free if you're a student here at Centennial. I would recommend that you get your pack, okay? And you can sign up for your free GitHub account this way as well. Okay, that's one. The other one that I highly recommend is this Visual Studio Visual Studio 2015. One of these two things, you can grab one of them. You can certainly download them directly. This one you can get off the web. You don't need to go here. But Visual Studio Community Edition 2015, if you don't have access to Visual Studio on your laptop, you can certainly get it from here. Okay. Now here's the other one that's required for this Lab 1. Lab 1 is 2 parts, right? Part 1 is your GitHub link. Sign up for GitHub. We'll talk about how to do that. Second part is your Azure for DreamSpark, right? So if I go click on this, right, and it says sign in and blah, blah, blah. Hey, hold up, before you go and do this. If they ask you for your credit card, you've done it wrong. Okay, just letting you know, right? There's no credit card required for students. If they're asking you for your credit card and you're going along, cancel your setup. Don't do it that way. That's wrong. And there's a way to do that through, there's the school DreamSpark. There's 2 DreamSparks. One is this dreamspark.com that all students, as long as you sign up and prove that you're a student, you can get access to. The other one here at Centennial is another DreamSpark, just putting it out there for you. Here's Microsoft's DreamSpark at Centennial. It looks like this, right? E5 on the hub and your DreamSpark, right? This is where you want to get your Azure. And the reason for that is because it gives you an Azure coupon, if you will, right? So notice that there's, Visual Studio 2015, the professional version, Expression Web. Don't do this one. Different other things that they have in here. They also have, if you look at new, these are new things. But if I search for Azure, if I go to like Azure, right? And if I search for it, they might have, if I'm not wrong, yeah, they do. Look, this, this isn't right. Azure emulator, I want that. I want Microsoft Azure. A lot of times they have, let's see if I can do it again. I know they had it before. Microsoft Azure. No, they do not. Oh, yeah, they do. I just didn't go far enough down. If you go all the way down, you notice that there's Azure emulators, storage tools for Visual Studio 2015, and there should be one that's in here that gives you a little token that you can get your free account. And it's not, I don't see it in here, right, which is bad because they used to have it. So, next that. Let's go back to DreamSpark. I love when things change. So if you go to DreamSpark, you can always go and apply for your Microsoft account this way, right? So if I do that, it says sign in to create your DreamSpark account. Here's a hint. If you sign in with your Centennial mail, it's wrong. Don't do that yet. Make your own Microsoft account. One just for this course, all right? Don't worry about getting email. Right, for that Microsoft account. Look at it as a junk mail account. Make another Microsoft account just for this course, right? And then you can sign up when it asks you for which account you're going to use for this for signing up to DreamSpark. Use that one. Don't use whatever you do. Don't use the DreamSpark or your account that's here at Centennial, because Centennial gives you this Office 365 account. A lot of times it will fail if you use that Microsoft Office 365 account through Centennial with DreamSpark and Microsoft Azure. So please sign up for this. Why give you a couple days to do this? This doesn't happen in 1 second, guys. This can happen quick, but for some of you, it might take a little bit of time. So worst case, what happens if you get stuck? What happens? You can't get this done, right? Support. Call support. I'm not joking around. Send a little note to support saying, hey, by the way, here's my name, and I'm a student at Centennial, and I'm trying to sign up for Azure. I don't know what to do. Can you help me out? Or it's not working, or ask me for my credit card. They'll direct you on what to do. Please get this done because this first part, your first lab is due tomorrow, okay? So today, tomorrow, get this done, right? Because we need to use Microsoft Azure for the entire course. I'm not going to use WinZip. I'm not going to use FTP. almost at all in this course because most modern web browsers, most modern web technologies now we use continuous deployment from GitHub directly to Microsoft Azure. So I put it up on GitHub and also it's deployed. Okay? Questions around what I'm talking about here. 2 things to do for your lab. 1, GitHub, sign up. And we're going to show you how to generate this. And 2, the second thing is sign up for Azure, get your Azure account, because if you don't have access to Azure, you won't be able to do this stuff with me through the entire course. That'll be bad, right? Hey, what about a backup? What if Azure doesn't work and you want to do something, but you don't want to use Azure, it can't work, right? Some people will ask, can I use my student, email, my student space? Sometimes that student space is wiped out, by the way. If you had a student space from last semester, I was working on, Centennial College, on the server here on Centennial College. Sometimes it'll work and sometimes it doesn't. Please, I recommend against it. You could use other services. One of the other services you could use is called, and this is you can sign up for free. Heroku, right, is another free service you could use, right? So here's Heroku.com. And what you can do with Heroku is you can sign up for free, and you create JavaScript websites. You can create PHP websites and other things, other supported platforms up here for free. Okay, so really cool. Heroku. If Microsoft doesn't work for you, you can certainly try and do this. I'm not going to explain it today. I will look at it later on, right? But there's definitely another service. Each one of my assignments is going to have a requirement for GitHub and cloud, all right? Both things. So that means you'll lose, if you don't get this set up now, every single one of my assignments, you're going to lose 8 marks. Yeah. Either one. Okay? So that I have to give you a backup just in case somehow Visual Studio doesn't, or Azure doesn't work with Microsoft or whatever. And if you want to use another cloud service, let's say you want to use DigitalOcean, because you're the kind of person who wants to use DigitalOcean, and you can give me a cloud, you want to share things up on the cloud, that's fine. Or if you want to host it somewhere else, your site, on your own, you want to have your own initiative, you don't want to use DigitalOcean, you want to use Dreams, whatever you want to use out there, that's fine too. But in every one of your assignments, you're going to have 2 links that I'm going to need from you for sure. Your GitHub link and a link to your live site that's not at the school. I don't want it to be local to the school. I want it to be somewhere in the cloud or on a service somewhere. And I've given you 2 that are free. 2, right? Yes. Anyone else have any questions around the requirements? I'm just letting you know right now, please sign up now so that it's done. Don't get this, otherwise why it's Lab 1, right? Lab 1 is set up. Okay, we're going to take a break in a few minutes. And then once we take a break, we'll do a little bit of a bio break. Have a chance to go to the washroom, have a smoke, whatever, talk to your girlfriend, come back, right? And then we'll continue, right? Or boyfriend, sorry, there's some women in the class, so I can't forget the lady programmers, which are very important to me, right? Because there's so few of them these days in the industry. Okay, so we're gonna get that done. So again, those 2 requirements, and if you ever wanted to look at it, if I go back to my lab, you can see that these are the requirements. One of them is when it comes to submission, right? The submission requirements is what I care about. This other stuff here is just steps to help you, okay? But one of them is provide a link to GitHub repository and provide a link to your Hello World example project on Azure or another cloud service provider, all right? Even if it's not Azure. As long as I get one of those 2 links, I'm good. You get your full 2%, okay? Let's take a short break. Let's take a short break, and when we come back, we'll actually set up a project for the first time, okay? Let's do that. 5 minutes, guys and girls.